Okay, good morning, everyone. This morning's overflight, again, we didn't see much movement or advancement in that downslope breakout that was moving down prior. Estimated advancement maybe about 15 yards. There was some activity on the surface along the front. There's some burning along the edges. We saw numerous breakouts on the pad itself, looking upslope, as well as on the margins. Very small breakouts, evident by a number of different plumes coming off or smoke being emitted from those breakouts. When you looked upslope from down below, you could see a number of different plumes coming up. But again, very small breakouts on the pad, as well as along both margins. And the two other breakouts from further upslope to the north at 1 to 1.5 miles. Again, very sluggish activity there as well. Again, still evidence that the material lava is making its way down to the lower elevations or near the front, with the breakouts, again, on both margins as well as on the pad, and very little advancement. Smoke conditions were pretty mild this morning. We had a nice northeast breeze blowing the smoke in a kind of a southwest direction. So again, we're in this same watch and see if there's going to be any change coming up. But right now, very sluggish activity, very little advancement, but still evidence of the lava making its way down through the tube system down to the front. And with that, I'll be open to any questions.
Daryl, Denise Layton, Speakerline Media. Yesterday, you mentioned that on Saturday, your crew had gone door to door with the Malta homeowners. There's extensive ag operations and dairy farms just across the street there. Have you had any conversations with those farmers and the farm operations personnel across the street on the Mackay side?
Yes, we did go to a couple of the farm properties that had people present along the side, both north and south of the fire station, police station property. And again, a lot of the focus was on the Malta side or the west side of the highway. But we did make contact and left flyers with some of those that weren't home. And did follow up on Saturday afternoon. I went back out personally and went door to door and made contact with some of those property owners that were around. Others, no one was present on the property. But just let them know what we were seeing as far as activity. And again, there was no evacuation being directed, required, or requested. It was just keeping people posted as far as where we were seeing activity and where that activity was located, and just asking them to just monitor, our local updates with the radio messaging and broadcast, and just to stay tuned to what's happening. And as we can see, the activity has slowed down quite a bit since Saturday.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, when the lava was moving quickly, was one thing, but some of those farms are quite large, and I would imagine it would take a lot to move them or move on the plant. So my other question was the water tank that's right across from the Civic station. Does Water Supply have any plans to fortify that or create a fuel break around that should lava advance towards that? Since it's right in that area?
Yeah, the Water Department hasn't shared any of their mitigation plans on that particular site yet. As we saw with the site up on Apaw Street, when that was possibly threatened, they were looking at doing some protective measures to secure the well site. So Water Department is aware of where the flow is at. They haven't indicated that they're going to be initiating anything as of yet, given that we're seeing very little advancement or change in activity.
I guess this one would probably be for Jim or Janet, John Burnett from the Tribune Herald. Is there any indication at this point that magma output from the vent is slowing down?
John, this is Jim.
Hey, Jim.
There's no obvious decrease. As you know, it's been fluctuating over the last several months. And we were in a low spot maybe a week or so ago in the supply, but it's certainly been going up and down even since then. So the short answer to your question is no, we're not in a diminished magma supply, but it is fluctuating.
Okay, thank you.
Denise again, I have a question for Daryl. Daryl, are all the brush fires considered extinguished at this time, or are you guys still working on hotspots and flare-ups?
No, Denise, they're still working on flare-ups and hotspots. When we flew over this morning, we could see some of those flare-ups and hotspots all within the perimeter, both the fire area as well as within the fire break area. So the units were still on the ground this morning. What I saw this morning was at least one engine and two brush trucks on the ground. They may be changing out assignments this morning after I left. I was up there at 6:30. I'm not sure if for the next operational period they're going to maintain the same configuration and personnel and equipment.
Okay, it's a lot easier to breathe this morning, so I was assuming that most of the fires were pretty much out. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and the smoke was actually blowing in a better direction this morning. It was actually blowing up in a southwest direction, more towards the Kalapana area, so it wasn't laying down real heavy in the Paradise Park area.
Daryl, question, Damon Tucker here.
Yep.
How close does the lava have to get to Highway 130 before you actually start using the alternate route again and the Highway 130 does get shut down?
Well, one is if we see a consistent advancement. Right now with the go stop type of behavior that we're seeing, it's very early, and we're seeing very sluggish behavior. As we've shared in previous media discussions and briefings, a lot of it would depend on not just how close does the lava flow get, but what other hazards would be accompanying it and posing a threat and problem on the highway. If we see brush fire activity moving towards the highway, smoke conditions could be heavy, that would be a reason to close the highway as well. So obviously we look at all the different hazards that would be coming with that advancing flow and when those hazards would pose a threat or a risk to the motorists and people on the highway. So at distance, it's really hard to say because the other thing that could play into that is once the flow, if it was to advance and become visible from the highway, that could start to present with issues of safety on the highway if people were going to start to slow down, park, get out of their vehicles, etc. So we have been discussing all of those issues that pose safety concerns on the highway, and as those issues come up, the decision to close the highway could be well in advance of the flow posing a threat, but those other hazards. And as we've told the community, we would make sure that they know, and that's part of the messaging every day, exactly where the flow is at so that we would be opening those alternate routes well in advance so people wouldn't be caught off guard or they'd be unfamiliar with where those roads are.
Thank you.